Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started because we want to stay on time. My name is Delane Richardson, and I'm one of the long-term care ombudsmen here at Central Alabama Aging Consortium. We are the area agency on aging for Autauga, Elmore, and Montgomery counties. Just wanted to take an opportunity to tell you that we appreciate you joining us today. We have a lot of useful information, and I'm excited to learn, and I hope that you are as well. A few housekeeping tips. I do want to let you know that we are going to provide a certificate of completion after today's webinar. So please check your email as I will send that to you. Also, we'll take a little break in between speakers just to transition PowerPoints and everything. So if you need to run to the restroom or something, you will have that time. We do have the agenda up just so you know what's going on and what we will be doing. And I'm going to turn it over to Sandra and let her say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sandra Whiteley. I'm with the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, also the Senior Medicare Patrol Coordinator. And I want to welcome you to the Elder Justice and Fraud webinar. I wanted to introduce Attorney Kevin Boston. He is currently a staff attorney at the Montgomery Legal Services Office. He specializes in Social Security benefits, mortgage foreclosures, landlord tenant expunctions. He earned his jury degree from North Carolina Central University School of Law and a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science from Hampton University. I'll turn it over to you now, Attorney Boston.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Boston. I am the lead attorney at the Montgomery office in Legal Services, Alabama. I've been doing landlord tenant law for quite some time, and I just wanted to share some information with you all today. And I just wanted to start off with the basis of the landlord-tenant relationship. And in the basis of landlord-tenant relationship, the lease controls all. And what the lease does not control, Alabama law will supplement that. And landlords have certain obligations and certain things that they have to maintain in a landlord-tenant type of relationship. And such things that they have to maintain are things like requirements of applicable building and housing codes that materially affect the health and safety of its tenants, making all repairs and doing what's necessary to put and keep the premises in a habitable condition, and as well as keeping all common areas clean and safe in the conditions for these tenants. Now, the thing is what happens when the landlord does not abide by these leases or their Alabama law. Most tenants believe that they can withhold rent until things are done in the proper manner. However, in the state of Alabama, that is not the case. In the state of Alabama, you cannot withhold rent. However, Alabama law does state that the tenant may deliver a written notice to the landlord specifying the acts and omissions constituting any type of a breach. And usually the Alabama law states that it is 14 days, but if it is a repair that needs to be done that takes time, the court requires reasonable time for the landlord to do so. Now, an example could be that a tenant provides notice of repairs that need to be made. However, the landlord wants to remove that tenant. So the issue is, what does that tenant do? First, they need to contact an attorney, and attorney will tell them that a tenant cannot be removed from a property without a judicial order. And that means that the landlord would have to take that tenant to court, and the landlord would have to win that court case, in which the judge would grant them a writ of possession, and a writ, which means an order of possession. Outside of that, the tenant cannot be removed from the property for the main purpose that they asked the landlord to do something when it comes to habitability issues. Anything outside of that would be called self-help a self-help eviction. And different examples of self-help eviction can be changing locks, in which I've seen many cases of where the landlord just does not want them in, and they will change the locks, they will turn off the power, remove personal property, and things of that nature. However, the tenants must know that you can seek actual damages if a landlord decided to do that outside of a judicial order from the courts. And per Alabama law, a landlord may not retaliate by discriminatorily increasing rent or decreasing services by bringing or threatening to bring an action for possession. Now, because this is the 2021 Fraud and Elder Justice webinar, I wanted to speak to what ways are landlords discriminating against our elder citizens. The first thing that we would need to look to is intent. Intent of the landlord on the basis of all standards need to apply to the elder citizens as well as the younger citizens that are in that complex or in that unit. And the two most prevalent pieces of discriminations that I've seen when it comes to elder citizens are age and disability. Under the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968, a landlord cannot discriminate against a tenant on the basis of age. An example of that is a landlord that would not renew a lease on the basis of age based on the standards that apply. They feel as if they could receive more money from a younger tenant, being that elder citizens may possibly have a fixed income. And that's why I state that we must look at the intent of the landlord. Now, if the intent is malicious, that is something that an attorney can handle by either calling the landlord in itself and explaining those rights, or filing something called an injunctive relief, which would stop the landlord from the discrimination by court order. The next piece of discrimination would be disability. Disability is something that I do see a lot, in which a landlord is in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which would state that a landlord must make reasonable accommodations for tenants on the basis of a disability. A landlord also is not allowed to ask questions when it comes to your disability, or see medical records to prove that you have a disability in itself. However, the landlord must accommodate based on notice. And I also advise that notice is also given to these landlords so they can provide the proper accommodations for that. Disabilities being hearing, eyesight, any form of Social Security listings that are available, please provide that to the landlord. When it comes to service animals, and the most example that I can see is guests. When it comes to elder citizens, some elder citizens need help. And a lot of landlords, when they try to remove these elder citizens, they state in their complaint that there are multiple people either staying in the house or there is too much frequency going on. Now that's why we look to the intent of the landlord. If the intent of the landlord is to remove that property, move the citizen based on the disability in itself, that is when you contact that attorney. And again, it can be either easy as a phone call, or it can go as far as an injunctive relief by court order. And on the basis of that, I just wanted to state what landlords can do and what they can't do. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact legal services. We have offices all across the state of Alabama, and I can provide my information as well to assist in any means that I can. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions they want to put in the chat for Attorney Boston? You can go ahead and do that now. Okay, if not, we will share his information in the chat, and we're going to go ahead and move to our next speaker. Let us get that PowerPoint going, and then we'll get moving. All right, I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce our next speaker. Again, this is Delane, and our next speaker is Jimmy Collier, who is an investigator with the Criminal Investigation Division with the Alabama Department of Insurance. He actively promotes and participates in the investigation of criminal activities perpetrated against insurance carriers and the investigation of criminal and or suspicious activities committed by insurance agents, insurance agencies, and or their representatives. Also, the investigation of suspicious and or criminal activities committed by insurance applicants and or claimants. He's also been a deputy state fire marshal and also worked in law enforcement. And I'll just say that we have had a couple of conversations in getting ready for this webinar, and I did not realize how much insurance fraud was just happening in our everyday lives and the things that he's seen. So he's going to have some great examples and real world information. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Investigator Collier.
Lynn, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. You're good.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jimmy Collier. I'm a criminal investigator at the Alabama Department of Insurance, and I'm in my 37th year of law enforcement, 21 years in investigations. I started working in insurance fraud February the 1st of 2017. And I was told I could have 2 weeks orientation about how insurance fraud works. Day one, I arrived, and he said, there's 5 case files on my desk. You start with that, you're figured out by yourself. So I came to working fraud, kind of blindsided to the idea of what fraud is. In April 17, they gave me my first insurance agent assignment, which involves a gentleman named Ronald Warren Powell, Ronnie Powell, aka Tom Jones Insurance. By the time I finished Mr. Powell's investigation, I exposed $18 million worth of fraud that I could link him to. Mr. Powell is currently under the Custody Department of Corrections, serving 7 years for insurance fraud and securities fraud. And I'm trying not to scare you today. That's not my intent. But my intent is to make you aware of things I have seen based on the cases I work, most of which involves elderly citizens. I am 61, so I'm in that category where I can be potentially a victim of elderly abuse. So let's get started and let's have a good time with this presentation. This is a basic overview of what insurance fraud consists of. The insurance industry consists of more than 7,000 insurance companies that collect 1 trillion premiums each year. That's a lot of money. But the massive side of the industry contributes significantly to the cost of insurance fraud by providing more opportunities and bigger incentives for committing illegal activities. Next slide, please. In May of 2012, the state passed the Insurance Fraud Act and created the Fraud Bureau, which I work under. Insurance fraud is basically an illegal act on part of either the buyer or the seller of an insurance contract. It can also be an annuity. Next slide. What I see when the fraud involves the claimant or the policyholder, I see exaggerated claims where they claim more financial loss than what really occurred, arson, vandalism, staged vehicle accidents, abandoned vehicle accidents, which means I wrecked my car, but I'm going to tell my agent that another car was involved. False bodily injury claims, especially soft tissue claims, slip and falls. Post-dated policies, slip and falls. A case of fake death claim, forged or certificates, or counterfeit certificates of insurance, water damage, storm damage, sales, forged documents, the list goes on and on. But I'm more concerned based on when the offender is going to be the insurance producer or agent or one of their employees. If you want to read more about the insurance fraud, you go to the Code of Alabama. It's under Title 2712A. Chapter 2 tells you what insurance fraud consists of. Can we back up a slide? Go forward 2 slides. One more slide forward. Okay, maybe missing a slide. Okay. Let's go forward a slide. The Fraud Act also required that the insurance company on either their applications for insurance, a claim release form, a restatement for insurance, or any kind of documentation that they provide a fraud warning. This is one of the biggest things which makes my case strong, because I go to court on my case file, I'm going to have something that you have signed that fraud warning is attached that says that you only knew that making a fraudulent claim is a crime. And usually it reads something to the effect that a fraud warning shall be included on at least one of, let's go forward 1 slide. Any person who knowingly presents a false or fraudulent claim for payment of a loss or benefit, or who knowingly presents false information in an application for insurance, is guilty of a crime and may be subject to restitution, fines, or confinement in prison, or any combination thereof. Basically, I have to show that the claimant has lied about a material fact. That's if the money involved is less than $1,000, it's a Class C felony. Over $1,000 is a Class B felony, which is up to 20 years in state prison. Forward, please. This is what I really want you to pay attention to. We want to talk about life insurance and annuities. When you apply for a life insurance policy, there's a process that's involved. An application, the first stage, where the insurance producer or agent says, I will sell you this contract based on a certain dollar amount. It may require you to submit to a medical examination. The documentation goes to underwriting. They in turn will look at the application you submitted, medical history, credit history, and everything you provide on that documentation on the application, just to see if you qualify to be insured. They in turn will send a potential contract back to the producer or the agent, who will show it to the potential applicant. It says, for this amount of money on these terms, we will insure you for this policy. If you agree to that, once the first premium is paid, policies bind. Most insurance companies will allow you up to a 30-day free look window, which allows you to decide in 30 days, sometimes less, sometimes more, if you wish to keep the policy based on the terms you were quoted. If you agree to that, you sign a authorization form. You should receive a document called a policy receipt. It says that I, Jimmy Collier, have received this policy and agreed to the terms set therein. Also, which you may not know, that most insurance companies have called a date of contestability, which means they have up to 1 year, 18 months, sometimes 2 years to rescind the policy. The premiums are repaid to the consumer. You may incur a small penalty. The policy can be rescinded based on misinformation, such as how you pay your premiums. Let's go forward, please. The largest financial loss case that I have worked involves life insurance policies or annuities. You have two types of insurance. You have universal whole life insurance, which builds a cash value. The premiums are higher, but there is a financial gain at the end of the policies that you may be entitled to. Next slide forward. Term policy does not build cash value. Premiums are lower, but offers a term that I will insure you at a certain monetary amount for a certain number of years or age. But the question that you need to ask when you look at these applications is, what happens if I outlive the age of the contract? If the policy says that your age is up to age 80, but you get to age 81, what happens? Is the premiums increased? You need to ask what the cost of insurance is if you outlive the age of that contract. I've seen cases where a insured cost of insurance went from $1,000 a month to over 5 figures, but they could not afford to keep the policy in force. They were not told this on the front side of the application process, but consumer alert, ask what happens if I live past the age quoted on this contract. Next slide. And sometimes I come across instances of fixed annuity. A fixed annuity is usually viewed as an insurance product. The same rules apply for insurance. Next slide. Variable interest annuities can be classified either a security or an insurance product. If it's viewed as a security, those complaints are investigated by the Alabama Securities Commission. Their staff does an outstanding job to work in these cases. If you have a security or variable interest annuity that you have questions about, you're not sure if it's doing like you're supposed to be doing, brokercheck.com is a free website in which you can look to see if the broker who sold you this policy or contract is licensed, if there's any complaints been filed against him, how the complaint was resolved. A great resource to use. I encourage you to do so. If you're an insurance producer, insurance agent, they too have to be licensed by the Department of Insurance. They also have called it National Producer Number. Our Consumers Division will assist you, the consumer, in looking at complaints against your insurance agent. If you have a complaint against your insurance agent or one of their customer service reps, I encourage you to contact our Consumer Division and make them aware of the situation, because your information that you provide may be the key to starting a criminal investigation, or it could show a pattern of deception that has been occurring with other potential victims of insurance fraud. Next slide. Most of my situations for elderly exploitation includes misrepresentation on the application for insurance or annuity. This is a very growing issue that I come across a lot. Next slide. what I tend to see a lot is where the elderly person may not qualify for an insurance due to an accident or something's happened, file a claim. And to get the person requalified, the agent or the customer service rep may add a phantom person of insurable interest. I have a case, I worked in Walker County where the agent added himself as being a spouse on driver of a vehicle policy or multiple policies. Adding a person of interest with a better credit score to get a lower premium on for a car policy or homeowner's policy. Usually the information for like an adult child that does not reside in that household or a grandchild that does not reside in the household. Back up, please. On the larger financial loss cases, a common factor has been that the insured has been asked to pre-sign a blank application. Never, ever, ever, never, I beg you, sign a blank application. What can cure if you sign a blank application is you do not know if the agent or the CSR or customer service rep has added you as the owner of the policy. They could make somebody else the owner of the policy. You're still paying the premiums. They could change the beneficiary to somebody that's not the intended beneficiary. When you get the policy back from the company after it's issued, please review the application to make sure everything is accurate as you intended for it to be. Next slide. Another thing which is quite common in my first case I worked is where the agent or his office failed to for the insurance premiums to the insurance company by the due date. Next slide. The victims were paying the insurance agent's office often in cash or by check. Money was go to other accounts, not to the company where the policy should have been paid. So the policy were lapsing, which it caused the insured to incur a restatement fee. Also occurs where the agent's office directs you to pay cash. Any viable or reliable agent's office does not accept cash payments for insurance premiums. And sometimes if the policy allows, it may cause the policy to be canceled and not reinstated. If you pay the office, if you write your checks made payable to the agent, please keep your receipts. I have a case I worked for the agent was collecting cash premiums. He was writing receipts to the insured, and the receipts had the same number for multiple payments. Your copies of the receipts is critical to proving the fraud sometimes if you have a financial loss. Next slide, please. One of the largest issues also, which involves elderly clients, it's called twisting and turning of insurance policies and annuities. This sounds complex, but I'm trying to walk you through the process very slowly. Next slide. Insurance producing agents make their money by selling product. On average, the commissions earned by the insurance agent can vary between 50% to 150%, equivalent of the first year premium total. Twist and churning of insurance policy annuities involves the replacement of an existing insurance policy or annuity with a new policy or annuity. What the agent usually does not tell you is that you, the consumer, will incur a penalty which is up to 10 to 15% of the initial investment. It also gives the opportunity for the agent to create or earn a new commission for a new product he sold. Next slide. Okay, this is a very generic example of one of the first cases I worked. The insured paid initial investment for $100,000 for an annuity. He was guaranteed a 4% return on his investment. Folks, nothing is guaranteed. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If the agent tells you that there's no risk in this, they're lying to you. There's always a risk involved. So with a $100,000 investment, the beginning balance was $100,000. At the end of the first year, 4% interest, the account had earned $4,000. The new balance is $104,000. The agent has earned his commission, which up to 150% of your first year premium. On average, it's about 125% for life policies. Next slide. So year two comes around. The agent comes back to you and says, Mr. Miss, insured, I have a better deal for you. This company is offering 6% annual return on their product. Very simple. You're going to think, well, $104,000 in my account now. If I increase to 6%, I'm going to get a better return. What he has not told you is you're going to lose about $15,600 at 15% penalty for surrendering their first year contract. So after you surrender your initial $104,000, it's now worth $93,740. He makes another commission. You in the first year has insured has lost $6,260 of your initial investment. Next slide. Year three, agent comes back around for your annual review and says, new products on the market, 8% guaranteed annual return. Your beginning investment or balance for that year is $93,740. If you agree to take this policy at 50% penalty, you're going to lose $14,061. Your ending balance at the year two, or year three, correction, year three, is now worth $86,020. Agents earned another commission. You have lost a total of $13,980 for the initial investment. Twisting and churning a policy is illegal. The case I just finished, there was one elderly insured that between 2010 and 2019, there were 24 applications submitted under his name. The face value of the policy was over $43 million. Not all policies were issued, but he was turned at least once, sometimes twice a year to sell new product, agent and earn new commissions. Next slide. Financial exploitation. Earlier this week, I completed my called EAGLE training, which is elderly abuse guide for law enforcement. It focuses a lot on financial exploitation of the elderly people. Next slide. Yeah, I can speak to this personal experience because my dad, who passed away last year, was a victim of financial exploitation of a green dot scam against better judgment, and he did not disclose what was going on for days until after the fact. In nearly a week time, Dad lost 6 figures before it was exposed by a person at the bank who alerted me about it, and I was able to stop it before it got worse. But financial exploitation comes in many different factors. It could be a total stranger. It could be a family member. It could be a caregiver who's the offender for this. But they use deception or intimidation or undue influence, threat or forced threat to obtain or exert unauthorized control over the elderly person's property with the intent to deprive the elderly person or the breach of fiduciary duty to an elderly person by the person's guardian, the conservator, the agent, under power of attorney, which results in unauthorized appropriation, sale, transfer of the elderly person's property. Quit claim deeds, the addition of people to bank accounts or deletion of people's name from bank accounts. Next slide. Sudden creation of doable powers of attorney. Transfer ownership of real property, vehicles, assets. Creation of new last will and testaments. Removal or relocation of important documents from the usual storage location. It's very easy in the digital age now to take a signature, copy and paste another document except that you was signed by the insured or the victim. Digital signatures are hard to trace and verify. I'm still old school police technology. I like wet signatures on the thing I signed. I don't like digital signatures. You have quite common, you have a family member who will start befriending the potential insured near the final stages of life, or when they think, hey, I can live off of grandmother or dad or mom or aunt, uncle, or it can be a total stranger, and take full control over their life and start slowly blocking access by the other family members. If this is going on in your family or with a friend of yours, you need to report to law enforcement immediately. Next slide. Identity theft and forgery. My dad's situation started with a phone call one late Sunday night when a total stranger calls his current wife at the time. It says, your credit card's been compromised. I'm with the FBI and I need you to provide me your name, social security number, date of birth. And they did. Give all the account numbers, all PIN codes, all passwords, and give the phone to dad, tell him to do the same. He did. Once I have your name, once I have your date of birth, once I have your social security number, your driver's license number, I can, in the digital world, become you. I can open and close bank accounts, credit card accounts, obtain loans, get car loans, create a fictitious identity driver's license, ID card, and you made you. And most of the time, you, the victim, do not know about it until after the deed is done, in weeks or months after it's happened, when you get a phone call by accounts overdue, or a collection notice in the mail, or a summons to appear for a civil case in court. A lot of times, law enforcement will tell you there's nothing we can do to help you. A lot of law enforcement agencies are not equipped to provide the resources to work these kind of cases. Fortunately, there is a way you can be helped. It starts with contacting local law enforcement, your district attorney's office, or your local DA's office know which agency or agencies in your county can assist you the most on these kind of cases. And we kind of guide you in that direction. Some counties now have a joint processes where you report something. It's a multiple team approach where multiple agencies may work on your case. It's been proven very effective when it's done the right way. I don't know if that's available in your area yet, but other counties, wherever it does work, it's been a great resource to have. Next slide. Identity theft is basically when the person commits a crime of identity theft if the authorization, consent, or permission of the victim and with intent to defraud for his or her own benefit or benefit of a third person, he or she does any of the following: obtains records or access to find information that would assist in accessing financial resources, obtaining identifying documents, identification documents, or obtaining benefits of the victim, obtains goods or services through the use of identifying information of the victim, obtains information documents of the victim's name. Next slide. Back up. You've seen on the media several times where a company has reported their network has been hacked or compromised and personal information has been stolen. Every year, the consumer is entitled to a free credit report. Every year, you, the consumer, need to obtain a copy of your free credit report to see if there's any accounts that have been opened in your name. There are methods also you can block unsolicited notices for credit card offers, bank account offers, loans. Checksystems.com is the website that comes to mind. I would encourage you to do so if you have not done already. I would also encourage you to also, now this is from my personal experience now, to do an annual review of your insurance policy, which homeowners or renters policies, a car policy, a life insurance policy, any policy that you have, you want to check, make sure it covers the intended risk, make sure the premiums are affordable, make sure that there's no additional or deletions from the policy since your previous year, make sure that your address is correct, make sure your phone number is updated and correct. When I was reviewing my policies, which I own, I discovered a life insurance policy that I have for my daughter. I got when she was an infant. The address had been changed to an address in Los Angeles, California. And she has never lived in Los Angeles, California. But policy was worth about $30,000. It was a term policy. Had she died, and I had a challenge time trying to resolve that because of the change of address. I caught in time. I got it resolved and corrected, so it's back like it should be. And don't trust your agent to bring you a Microsoft or Word document or Adobe document that says, these are the policies, this is how much you have. You want something from the company itself on their letterhead that's authentic. They have a consumer's office at most insurance companies. Call them. Don't always trust your agent to do this for you. If the agent is crooked or done some kind of shady work, he's going to lie to you. You can be a victim before you realize it. The agent should never ask you to loan them money. The agent should never offer you anything in return for buying a policy or rebate. Rebating is illegal in Alabama. A case I just indicted agent on, he was approaching elderly clients and says, Mr. Insured, here's the deal. I can give you a $2 million policy. It's not going to cost you anything. It's up to you if you want to renew it after the first year. He was paying the premiums for the first year's policy through another financial source, not the insured. Policy was issued. Policy lapsed after the date of contestability. So it stayed in force for the year. He got the commission, and all he needed to use was the insured's name, birthday, social security number to get the policy issued. If the agent offers that you borrow the condo, we want to know about that. If you obviously can kind of give some buying policies, we want to know about that. Gifting is illegal. It's an ethics issue. A rebate is illegal. That's a criminal issue. We have a Consumer Division Department of Insurance that's based out of Montgomery. We encourage you to do so. If you have a thing, issues a policy, contact them. If you think you're a victim of fraud, contact us. I'm looking at a question sent in by Brenda. Um, and the question is there action that can be taken against a private care provider that inflates their hours of service on the invoices? Yes, there's something that can be done, but I need to talk more about this off chat and more in private to what our options are. Other questions about this? This went through this kind of fast, but
And we'll send out speaker information when I send your certificates as well, so you can have if you need to get in touch with either one, you'll have that availability too, since you probably need to have a side conversation.
one thing, I live in the shows, which is Northwest Alabama. I do not work your area in Central Alabama. There are other agents that do. It's just that I have had more exposure with elderly victims and insurance fraud cases and dirty producer cases, unfortunately. It shouldn't be this way. Next slide. Back up one, please. Go forward one. One more. Go forward. This is my contact information. Please take time to contact me if you have questions. I might not be the person to assist you, but I'm well connected throughout other agencies in Alabama. Go back a slide. This is information for our Consumer Division, Alabama Securities Commission. I have worked several cases with the Alabama Securities Commission. They're a great bunch of people to work with. They're very resourceful. They have their own attorneys and staff. We have attorneys and staff. One of the challenges which I sometimes have in insurance fraud is that the local prosecutor is not familiar with the statute because it's so new. And some agencies may want to say this is a civil case. No, it's not a civil case. It's a criminal case. This is why it's criminal. And this battle I fight constantly is shown that this is a criminal case. He or she has lost money. I wish everybody the best of luck and a great year. Thankfully, COVID is starting to slow down. I hope. It's been a life-changing experience for everybody involved, especially us. And I'm quite often asked, when are you going to retire? I haven't decided yet. Maybe next year, maybe not. I have a great job. I like what I do, and I like helping people I meet with. And one of the best things about my job is when I meet with elderly people, victims, I like to hear stories about their lives, how they met, where they met, and watch them talk about their families, and they smile, talk about their grandkids, which I'm great grandkids. The art of communication is lost. And a lot of times when the agent has a insured that is isolated from their family, there's no support there. There's no close contact there. They're more easily targeted and exploited because they trust the agent. They want to involved with somebody, and the agent's there to fill that role for them. Don't drop your guard down. And you only as good and aware as what you educate yourself. Never stop trying to educate yourself. Thank you for your time, your hospitality, cooperation. God bless to everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you so much, Investigator Collier. We appreciate that information. We got out here a little earlier today, so that's good. I did want to remind you that we will send you an email with a certificate for today's webinar, and then we'll also send contact information as well. I do appreciate everybody joining us today. I hope you learned some valuable information. And I think Sandra has a few words she wants to say too.
I just want to say I appreciate everybody's participation. And if you have any questions, you can either email myself or Delane, and then we'll make sure that we forward it to the speakers. But have a good day. Thank you.
And thank you to our speakers as well. Everyone have a great day. Thanks so much.